Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is AJ Lanigan coming from you somewhat cloudy South Carolina today, looking for a little cold weather to blow in. But that's okay. We're nice and warm, and the roof doesn't leak today. We often talk about the dose curve. What actually happens when you give a dose? What happens when you increase the dose? What happens when you increase the dose again and again and again? With our product, the RVB 300 and also the RYL 500, you can actually dial in the dose dependent upon where you want your immune system to be. Let's say your immune system is typically somewhere in this area. Even if you're healthy, maybe below this area if you're not healthy, but let's say it's somewhere in this area. And we talk about somewhere around 30 to 31%. We'll talk about that over and over again until you're comfortable with what that number means. But let's say you want your dose to carry you to an immune response of say 35%. And then you increase the dose because you wanted it 40%, or you wanted it 50%, or 60%, or 70%, or even higher. See, this is something that you can't do with food. You can't do it with the typical food supplements. Again, you can provide for healthy bone and tissue. But as far as immune response, and we're talking about here in helping your immune response to be much higher than what it would typically be. And you can choose that. There's no other compound known to man that allows you to do that. So let's talk about that just a little bit. I've got a little slide prepared, and I want to get that slide up and running. And once we have our slide up, then we're going to explain what we mean when we talk about a dose curve. Now, you see this gray line right along here, this kind of a broad gray line. Again, this is that area of around 30 to 31%. And we use a type of a salt water. You'll see it in the peer-reviewed studies as discussed as PBS. That's phosphate buffered saline. Just call it salt water for now, because we have to have some sort of a what we call a negative control, because we have to have a baseline by which to measure other things against. So this is our baseline, this kind of broad gray area here, as if you were simply gargling with salt water. No immune response beyond that of normal and healthy. Now, here on this line, down here at the bottom, you see we're increasing the dose from 25 to 50, from 50 to 100, from 100 to 200, 200 to 400, and on up to 800. So if we take a dose, let's say from 50 up to 800, then that's 16 times the dose. See, this is two times, 4 times, 8 times, 16 times. Okay, or if you just divide 50 into 800, then that would be 16 times the dose from here to here. Now, what happens? You'll see that all these compounds in this area start at a level more or less around salt water. You have a few compounds that do a little bit better. Now, if you double the dose, you see that generally all the compounds head up a bit. Okay, so in doubling the dose, you don't necessarily double the immune response. If we double the dose again, you see a gradual increasing. No matter where these compounds start, there's a gradual increase. We double the dose again. Okay, we're now at 4 times this theoretical starting point. We actually started here. I'll make the point as to why a little bit later. But as we double the dose again, you don't see doubling of immune response. You see gradual climbing, doubling the dose again. Now we're at 8 times this theoretical dose here at the where you see the green line. And now we dose again at doubled. Again, this is 16 times the dose. 16 times the dose of a starting dose if our starting dose was somewhere around this area. Okay, so you see a general flattening out. No matter what the compounds tested, we're looking at a general flattening out. Now these compounds that we've tested are actually some of the top immune modulators in the world. We've got compounds here from all over the United States, from Europe. PSK Crestin up here, that's actually a drug that's approved for colorectal cancer in Japan, has been approved as such for 25 or 30 years. But let's look at this line up here. You see this line? Well, guess whose line this is? This is the product that's in the bottle that you folks offer for sale. This is the key compound, the 300, as it's talked about in the studies. It's in your RVB 300. It's in the 500 milligram. Okay, look at this key point. This is the area where we typically say your daily dose should start. That data point right there. Now, if we follow that data point all the way across, what you see is that even at 16 times the dose, 16 times the dose, we don't find anyone who exceeds where we are at, let's say, a 1x dose. See, if we qualify this as a 1x dose and this group as a 16x dose, none of these compounds come close. There's one and only one, and that is our PSK Crestin compound. Okay, look at where we can take you beyond that point, much higher, but you have to take a higher dose. So I hope this helps you to better understand what we mean by dose curve, and you better understand why when we recommend our product that we're not doing it because we're prejudiced, even though we are just a little bit, but we're also giving you this information straight from where it appears in the peer-reviewed medical literature. There's actually a couple of studies that have been based upon this data that I'm giving you. There have been multiples of other types of studies that demonstrate this same information. And now that you know what a dose curve looks like on a piece of paper, and now you can understand how you can dial in your dose. Where do you want your immune system to be? Do you want it to be down here? Or maybe just a half dose would put you the difference in here and here. Full dose, the difference in here and here, and so forth. Hope you understand a little bit better about dose curves. And each and every one of you, hope you're having a happy day. And I'll be talking to you again real soon. Bye-bye.